So Donald has issued an ultimatum. He says by Saturday, this Saturday, so it's what, 2/12, it's Wednesday, February 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. So in 3 days, by noon, Palestine has to release all the hostages or all hell is going to break loose. So he's changing the ceasefire deal. And frankly, if you know the history of Israel and Palestine since 2005, that's what they've done. They'll have a ceasefire. They'll have a ceasefire for a while. Israel doesn't listen to it whatsoever. So far, they've already killed at least 92 since the ceasefire. But the days right before the ceasefire, they were killing like 100 or 200 or so. I mean, it's ridiculous how many people that Israel kills, and then somehow they're still maintaining the ceasefire. So typically what happens with Israel and Palestine when you got a ceasefire since 2005 is that Israel breaks it, continues to break it, breaks it over and over again, and then eventually Palestine will retaliate, and then Israel declares that the ceasefire is over. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen again. So this is totally expected. This is totally expected, right? He had the meeting with Netanyahu. He's going to take over Gaza. He's going to turn it into a Riviera. He's going to do ethnic cleansing. He's going to expel the Palestinians just as America has been doing, just as Biden has done, just like every president has been doing since 1948. So I want to read some of the history of Palestine. Palestine has been around for nearly 3,000 years. And so I just want to do some Bible readings because anytime they talk about the land of Canaan, anytime they talk about the land of Canaan or the Philistines, you're talking about Palestine. The Philistines, the land of Canaan, the Canaanites, these are Palestinians. Okay? So here we go. Genesis 12:4. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old. 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abram took Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son. Well, I thought Sarah was his sister. And all their possessions which they had gathered, and the persons that they had gotten in the Haran. And they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. Canaan, C-A-N-A-A-N. The land of Canaan, the land of Palestine. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At the time the Canaanites were on the land. At that time the Palestinians were on their own land. This is Genesis. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to the descendants, I will give you this land. Oh, well, that's nice. So God himself just smiled and said, you are my most wondrous creation, Abram. Now, here is Genesis 17. When Abram was 99 years old, okay, this is so believable. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. And I will make my covenant between me and you and will multiply you exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face. And God said to him, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you the father, of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you, and I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your descendants after you. And I will give to you and to your descendants after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, all the land of Palestine for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. I mean, that seems preposterous. That seems evil and wicked. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and give you these other people's land. Why would, that's not a God. That's a devil. Why would a God give you the land of somebody else? There's lots of land that's uninhabited and unoccupied. Well, it says God in the Bible. God says that they get the land, right? Well, their Bible says they get the land, so what the hell? Then the Lord said, I have seen the affliction of my people. Now we're going to go to Exodus chapter 3, verse 7. Then the Lord said, I have seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now they're going to take the Jebusites' land. And now, behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the sons of Israel out of Egypt? He said, but I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God upon this mountain. Okay, so then Moses does all those magic tricks, right? What were all those magic tricks that Moses had done? What are the 10 plagues of Egypt? So Moses is going to turn water into blood. He's going to have frogs appear in houses and food and clothing, frogs all over the place. Then there's going to be a painful plague where everybody gets boils on their skin, lice, flies, livestock pestilence. You're going to have a whole bunch of insects, lice and flies and pestilence for the livestock. Then you're going to have a destructive storm that's going to hit Egypt, and then darkness, a thick darkness that made it impossible for people to see each other. Then the killing of the firstborn children. Well, if you're not going to let my people go, then all of the firstborn children are going to die. That's the final plague. That's the final plague. So Moses told the Israelites to splash the blood of a sacrificial lamb on their doorpost. And that's Passover, right? You just kill a lamb, you wipe the blood of the lamb on your door, and God will pass over you, and you won't be afflicted by any of the plagues. So we're already in a super fucked up land. Super fucked up, every bit of this. Numbers 14:11. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will this people despise me, and how long will they not believe in me in spite of all the signs which I have wrought among them? I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. So now Moses freed the people, right? We've already got to Exodus. Now we're at Numbers. So the Hebrews are free out of Egypt, and now they're wandering in the desert, the wilderness, the jungle, who knows where they're at. But the people are not obeying Moses. They're not listening to him. Numbers 14:26. And the Lord said to Moses and to Aaron, how long shall this wicked congregation murmur against me? You guys are murmuring. Why do you keep whisper? Just keep on murmuring. No, I hear you murmuring sons of bitches. I have heard the murmurings of the people of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say to them, as I live, says the Lord God, what you have said in my hearing I will do to you. Your dead body shall fall in this wilderness, and all of your numbered from 20 years old and upward, who have murmured against me, not one shall come into the land where I swore that I would make you dwell, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, who you said would become a prey, I will bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your dead body shall fall in this wilderness. So now God is threatening the Hebrews, the people that were rescued, the chosen people, with disease. And he's going to, you want to sit there and shit on this land? This land is beautiful and wonderful. No, we hate this land. This land is crappy. No topsoil, no shade, no water. Hey, I'm God. I know what is best for you. And the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land, and who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him, once again by bringing up an evil report against the land. The land stinks, it smells, it's all swampland, nothing but leeches and lice and flies. And men who brought up an evil report of the land died by plague before the Lord. What? What? So now we're doing the plague against the Hebrews just because they're murmuring? Murmur, 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 murmur. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh remained alive of those men who went to spy out the land. And Moses told these words to all the people of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. And they rose early in the morning and went up to the heights of the hill country, saying, See, we are here. We will go up to the place which the Lord has promised, for we have sinned. But Moses said, Why now are you transgressing the command of the Lord? For that will not succeed. Do not go up, lest you be struck down before your enemies, for the Lord is not among you. For there the Amalekites and the Canaanites are before you. The Canaanites, the Palestinians, and you shall fall by the sword because you have turned back from following the Lord. The Lord will not be with you. But they presumed to go up to the heights of the hill country, although neither the ark of the covenant of the Lord nor Moses departed out of the camp. Then the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwelt in that hill country came down and defeated them and pursued them, even to Hormah. Even to Hormah. I mean, what is this Hormah about? I don't know. I don't know. But that's the Canaanites. That's the Palestinians. The Palestinians have been around for 2,000 to 3,000 years. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. For they forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers. How dare you forsake me? I am the God of your fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went after other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were round about them, and bowed down to them, and they provoked the Lord to anger. They forsook the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtaroth. They're not worshiping God anymore. They're worshiping the Baals and Ashtaroth. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he gave them over to the plunderers who plundered them, and he sold them into the power of their enemies round about. This is Judges 2, verse 11 through 23. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he gave them over to plunderers who plundered them, and he sold them into the power of their enemies round about, so that they could no longer withstand their enemies. Whenever they marched out, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had warned, and as the Lord had sworn to them, and they were in sore straits. Then the Lord raised up judges who saved them out of the power of those who plundered them. And yet they did not listen to their judges, for they played the harlot after other gods and bowed down to them. They soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers had walked, who had obeyed the commandments of the Lord, and they did not do so. Whenever the Lord raised up judges for them, and the Lord was with the judge, and he saved them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. Was it a good judge? Did the judge make sure that their properties were protected even when they went to work or went on vacation? For the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning because of those who afflicted and oppressed them. When they're murmuring, he puts a plague on them. Oh, you're going to murmur against me? Well, here's smallpox, you asshole. Don't you dare murmur against the crap land that I'm giving you, that has other people on it, that's got Palestinians on it. But now he's saying when they groan, so it's okay to groan, but don't murmur. Oh. But you can't be like, whisper, 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 murmur, 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 whisper, 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 murmur, murmur, murmur. Oh, what the hell is he doing? This crap land, making us walk out in the damn desert. But if you're groaning, oh, what the hell? That's okay. So that's an important distinction. I'm learning. But whenever the judge died, they turned back and behaved worse than their fathers, going after other gods, serving them and bowing down to them, and they did not drop any of their practices or their stubborn ways. So the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. Why does the Lord hate Israel so damn much? Well, they're groaning and murmuring, and they don't like the land, and they keep complaining, and And this doesn't sound like God. He put a plague on the chosen people. Oh, you want to complain about the land? Well, here's a plague on you. Does that sound like the great spirit of ultimate goodness to you? Sounds like a devil religion. So the angel of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he said, because this people have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not obeyed my voice, I will not henceforth drive out before them any of the nations that Joshua left when he died, that by them I may test Israel, whether they will take care to walk in the way of the Lord as their fathers did, or not. So the Lord left those nations, not driving them out at once, and he did not give them into the power of Joshua. So that means he left Palestine alone. I'm going to leave Palestine alone because Palestine's they're going to test you. And if you fall away from the Lord, well, they're going to test you. The Philistines. Look at this. Judges chapter 3. These are the nations, the 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites. So we got Canaanites, we got Philistines, and you know what? All those other people might have been Palestinians too. And the Sidonians and the Hivites who dwelt on Mount Lebanon from Mount Baal Hermon as far as the entrance of Hamath. They were for the testing of Israel to know whether Israel would obey the commandments of their Lord, which he commanded their fathers by Moses, like thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's good. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's land, the neighbor's property, the neighbor's ox. Like those things, thou shalt not steal. Don't steal land. Don't murder. Israel's not doing that. They're doing a fucking genocide. They are not listening to the Lord, their God, the great spirit of ultimate goodness. And I don't even know if this is the great spirit of ultimate goodness either. So the people dwelt among the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. And they took their daughters to themselves for their wives, and their own daughters they gave to their sons, and they served their gods. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, forgetting the Lord their God and serving the Baals and the Asheroth. Therefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rish Athaim, king of Mesopotamia, and the people of Israel served Cushan-Rishath 8 years. We're going to say Cushan next time. That is such a long name. But when the people of Israel cried to the Lord raised up a deliverer for the people of Israel who delivered them. Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, the Spirit of the Lord came upon them, and he judged Israel. He went out to war, and the Lord gave Cushan, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed over Cushan. So the land had rest 40 years, and then Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. And the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Motherfucker, why do the Israelites just keep on being evil and wicked? They keep on falling in favor with God, out of favor with God. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel because they had done what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He gathered to himself the Ammonites and the Amalekites and went and defeated Israel. And they took possession of the city of palms. And the people of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But then the people of Israel cried to the Lord. The Lord raised up for them another deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera. All right. Chapter 4, Judges chapter 4. And the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, of course, after Ehud died. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, Jabin, king of Canaan. So the Lord is going to give the Israelites to the Palestinians. This is Judges 4, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who dwelt in Harosheth Hagoyim. Then the people of Israel cried to the Lord for help, and he had 900 chariots of iron and oppressed the people of Israel cruelly for 20 years. Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, who was judge in Israel at the time, she used to sit under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the people of Israel came up to her for judgment. She sent and summoned Barak, the son of Okay, I'm tired of this crap. Let's take a look at Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 8, verse 7. And the Lord said to Samuel, hearken to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them, according to all the deeds which they have done to me, from the day I brought them up out of Egypt, even to this day, forsaken me and serving other gods, so they are also doing to you. Now then, hearken to their voice, only you shall solemnly warn them, and show them the ways of the king who shall reign over them. So Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking a king from him. He said, these will be the ways of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them to his chariots and to be his horsemen and to run before his chariots. And he will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, and some to plow his ground and to reap his harvest, and to make his implements of war and the equipment of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive orchards and give them to his servants. So this is what's going to happen, Samuel says. You want a king? You want a king? Okay, well, he's going to fucking tax the shit out of you. He's going to take your daughters and make them perfumers. He's going to take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive orchards. He's going to take a tenth of your grain and of your vineyards and give it to his officers and his servants. He will take your manservants and maidservants and the best of your cattle and your asses. He's going to take your asses too and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your flocks, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. So who knows what happened after that? All right, so let's go to Samuel chapter 17. Verse 4, and there came out of the camp of the Philistines, again the Palestinians, a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. How tall is 6 cubits? Oh, he was about 6 cubits tall and a span. So that's 6 foot and a couple inches. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. It's a big fat coat, and he had greaves of bronze upon his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. And the shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And his shield bearer went before him. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Judah, named Jesse, who had 8 sons. In the days of Saul, the man was already old and advanced in years. The 3 eldest sons of Jesse had followed Saul to the battle, and the names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and next to him Ben-adab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 eldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward and took his stand, morning and evening. So you have Goliath who's sitting there taunting them. If you just want to conquer us, just conquer me. Give me your best warrior. Me and him will fight one-on-one, and then we'll be your slaves. Then David is going to come up, right? This is David versus Goliath. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David. So this is the Israelites versus the Philistines. The Palestinians versus the Israelites. We've been doing this shit for what? Fucking, this is 3,500 years ago? When was this? You know, David, that was 1000 BC. So for 3,000 years, the Palestinians have been around for more than 3,000 years. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David with his shield bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine Goliath from Gath, Goliath of Gath, Goliath and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and comely in appearance. And the Philistine Goliath said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And Goliath cursed David by his gods. And then Goliath said to David, come to me, the Philistine. They keep saying the Philistine, the Philistine. It's David and Goliath. But the Philistine, the Palestinian, said to David, the Israelite, come to me and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field. Is it Israelite or Judeans? And there were Sumerians too, right? And then there's the Hebrews. What do they call the ones out of Egypt? Do they call them Hebrews or what? Is that Exodus? Do I need to actually go back to Exodus? Is that what needs to happen right now? No, let's carry on. But I am curious about that. Are we talking about Hebrews in Exodus or Israelites or Judeans? Come to me and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field. And David said to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Chapter 17, Samuel, the first book, 50, verse 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and he struck the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath and killed him and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron, so that the wounded Philistines fell on the way from Sha'araim as far as Gath and Ekron. And the Israelites came back from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their camp. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. When Saul said, David, go forth against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, as your soul lives, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, inquire whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, whose son are you, young man? And David answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. The Bethlehemite? That is a terrible way to say Bethlehem. And the Bethlehemite. Huh? You don't want to hear no Bible readings, guy? Come on, guy. I'm reading a Bible reading here. Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. Saul cast the spear, but David evaded him twice. Then Saul said to David, here is my elder daughter, Merab. I will give her to you for a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. Now Saul's daughter, Michal, loved David. Okay, so this is the part where Saul's going to get David to go get 100 foreskins from the Philistines. If you want to marry my daughter, well, you better go cut 100 dicks off of those guys over there. And of course, the Philistines are the Palestinians. David was 1000 BC. Palestine's been around for 3,000 years, at least. So we'll call her Michelle. It looks like Michael, but I don't want to say Michael. So Michelle loved David. And they want to get married. But Saul said, thus shall you say to David, the king desires no marriage present except 100 foreskins of the Philistines, that he may be avenged of the king's enemies. Now Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines, the Palestinians. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law. Before the time had expired, David arose and went along with his men and killed 200 of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, which were given in full number to the king, that he might become the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him his daughter Michal for a wife. So he was successful. He went and he says, go get 100 dicks. Go get 100 dicks of the Philistines. David comes back with 200 dicks. What's up now, Saul? Looks like you're going to have to let David marry your daughter now. Let's take a look at 1 Kings 15. And Judah did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins, which they committed, more than all that their fathers had done, for they also built for themselves high places and pillars and Asherim on every high hill and under every green tree. And there were also male cult prostitutes in the land. This is 1 Kings 15, 14. And there were also male cult prostitutes in the land. They did according to all the abominations of the nations before which the Lord drove out the people before Israel. So they just keep falling out of favor. God always keeps on being displeased with this sinful nation. And I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to come back with some more Bible readings. Because they just keep on, well, hell, maybe I should just keep on. No, I'll keep on going. I got a viewer. I'm doing this for you, viewer. So we have the book of Isaiah. So the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 4. Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, offspring of evildoers, sons who deal corruptly. He's talking to Israel. This is God talking to Israel. You're a sinful nation. You're laden with iniquity. You're a bunch of offspring of evildoers. You deal corruptly. You've forsaken the Lord. You've despised the Holy One of Israel. They are utterly estranged. Cease to do evil. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Correct oppression. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Avoid evil. Do good. I know that's a hard concept for a bunch of genocidal maniacs, but let's take a look at Hosea chapter 4. Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel, for the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. There is no faithfulness or kindness, and no knowledge of God in the land. There is swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery. They break all bounds, and murder follows murder. Therefore the land mourns, and all who dwell in it languish. And also the beasts of the field and the birds of the air, and even the fish of the sea are taken away. Yet let no one contend, and let none accuse. For with you is my contention, O priest. You shall stumble by day. The prophet also shall stumble with you by night. And I will destroy your mother. My people are my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being a priest to me. And since you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. The more they increase, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. This is God talking to Israel. This is God talking to Israel. This is Hosea chapter 4. Check it out. I'm not lying to you. They feed on the sin of my people. They are greedy for their iniquity, and it shall be like people, like priests. I will punish them for their ways and requite them for their deeds. They shall eat, but not be satisfied. They shall play the harlot, but not multiply, because they have forsaken the Lord to cherish harlotry. Therefore your daughters play the harlot, and your birds commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they play the harlot, nor your brides when they commit adultery, for the men themselves go aside with harlots and sacrifice with cult prostitutes, and a people without understanding shall come to ruin. Though you play the harlot, O Israel, let not Judah become guilty. Enter not into Gilgal, nor go up to Bethaven, and swear not as the Lord lives, like a stubborn heifer. Israel is stubborn. Can the Lord now feed them like a lamb in a broad pasture? Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone, a band of drunkards. They give themselves to harlotry. They love shame more than their glory. I know him, and Israel is not hid from me. For now, O Ephraim, you have played the harlot. Israel is defiled. Israel is defiled. So over and over again, the God of the Old Testament does not like Israel, says Israel's doing evil, doing wicked, keeps on murdering and playing the harlot and adultery and who knows what the hell, doing evil, right? The 10 Commandments, they keep on not listening to God. They're stealing. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, thy neighbor's land, thy neighbor's ox. That's exactly what they're doing. They're coveting their neighbor's goods and their land and their ox. And then when it comes to, was it kings or judges? I had read earlier that when it came to the Palestinians, God was displeased with Israel. And so he was going to let the Canaanites live amongst them in order to punish them when they go astray. So God specifically let the Canaanites and the Philistines and a bunch of the Palestinians. The Palestinians have been around for 3,000 years. They're a people of resistance. So the ceasefire deal was supposed to, the phase 2 of the ceasefire deal was supposed to go until March the 2nd. But I didn't believe that it would go to March the 2nd. Historically, from 2005, they say ceasefire. Israel keeps on killing people. They've already killed, since the ceasefire, Israel has killed 92, at least 92 officially. So Israel hasn't been abiding by the ceasefire deal. So since 2005, Israel keeps breaking the ceasefire deal, and then Palestine will retaliate, and then Israel say all bets are off, and then they'll cut the grass. They'll continue the genocide. They'll continue indiscriminate bombing. So that's what's going to happen right now. That's what they're acting like, you know, by Saturday. So they've been holding on to these hostages for a year and a half. The whole ceasefire deal, there's two parties in the ceasefire deal. There's two parties. And so that means you're just going to tell one party to release their hostages. What about the hostages that Israel has? Well, they got 9,000 political prisoners. Do they need to release their hostages too? Is that what you're saying? On Saturday, Hamas releases their hostages and then Israel's going to release all their hostages? Bullshit. Bullshit. You know that's not going to happen. So Donald is, you know, basically instead of saying all hell is going to break loose against both parties, now he's just saying all hell is going to break loose against one party. So whereas it seemed promising, right? He got TikTok back up. He's going to, you know, get peace in the Middle East. He's going to win a Nobel Peace Prize, right? Phase 2 is March the 2nd. So he is jumping the gun. He is pushing this deal to fail. He's doing it intentionally. He's doing it intentionally. And it's bullshit. I'm sick of the fucking genocide. I'm so sick of the goddamn genocide. Palestine has been around for 3,000 years. There's a difference between a nation and a nation state. A person who is tied to their state, okay, then you're a Tennessean, right? But a nation is a people with a common bond. Alexander the Great tried to conquer Gaza, and he said that they died tied to their post. The Palestinians are a people of resistance. We hear about the Canaanites, we hear about the Philistines over and over again in the Bible. Why would Abraham promise somebody else land where somebody else lives on it? That isn't what God, the great spirit of ultimate goodness, would promise you land that is not occupied. The people of Egypt, what was it? I don't even know if it was the Israelites, but the Hebrews were rescued out of Egypt. They kept complaining. They kept complaining about the land that they were going to go to. And then their God put a plague on them. This is a weird and strange God, just for murmuring. But then when they were groaning, he listened to their groans. But when they murmured, he put a pox on them. He put a plague upon them. And then Moses made it rain frogs or something and then turned the Nile into blood. He turned his staff into snakes. He parted the Red Sea. I don't know. A lot of this kind of sounds like bullshit if you ask me. I should walk around just reading the Bible, just yelling, bullshit. Bullshit. What? There's a lion in the road. Bullshit. Any questions? You know, Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord over and over again. Read your Old Testament. Israel did evil over and over again in the sight of the Lord. They kept murdering, they kept stealing, they kept coveting their neighbor's goods. They didn't even listen to their own 10 commandments. They didn't even listen to their own 10 commandments. So therefore, he put a pox on them. He put a pox on them. So I would like to see peace in the Middle East, but I think he's trying to fast forward this deal. He's putting an ultimatum in 3 days by noon. And he says he don't think that they'll do it. 92 have already been killed, so that means Israel's already broken the damn ceasefire. This sucks. He's just Joe Biden 2.0. He's just carrying on with the genocide, ethnic cleansing. He's no fucking different. Why not just have an old fucking demented person in office if you're going to just keep on doing the damn genocide? You got to suck Netanyahu's dick, right? You got to fucking suck that dick. You don't have a choice. You got to suck that dick. You got to suck Netanyahu's dick. You don't have a damn choice. You don't have a choice.